Marriage Story, and oh my goodness, what an amazing film. What I loved about it is the performances. So Adam Driver and Scarlett Jo, amazing performances. And I think it was just really, it's very sweet how it started and ended. And I think I teared up at the end because I was so emotional, and the performances were so just really intense. And I think it was made more intense by the fact that the characters were in theatre, and it made it more believable. Because you know when people sometimes when actors act like actors, then they get over dramatic and stuff, but it felt really realistic in the sense that their over dramaticness was telling of their character. So it made sense that they would be so dramatic, then quite humbly sort of be brought down back to sort of the real world, as it were. And it was just amazing to watch. Like Adam Driver, oh, wow, Cena I'd not seen in LauraDReviews, because where apparently he sings in that, and he sings in this, and he sings a song that I looked up after watching, and it was by Stephen Sondheim from a musical company, which I think made complete sense because of, and it's, you know, I've said in videos, in my reviews, that, you know, it's very deliberate. Sometimes it's very deliberate, and it's just telling of a great film that the director is really into, or just like is very conscious and deliberate with his song choices and music. And wow, and like, so even there's a little dance song number that Scarlett Jo does, and then again it's by Stephen Sondheim from a musical that would be telling of her character, that she would perform something like this as her character. And I was just like, it was super emotional as well, just to be like, you know, in that situation. And what I love about Marriage Story is that it is a story. You see it unfold, or like, so you see the journey. And I think watching it from a certain place and being told through sort of chronologically how things happen within a marriage, within a divorce, within, you know, the journey of how those two people interact. And obviously with a child, it's that much more difficult when you're going through a situation like that. And it's just very realistic in the sense that it was just so honest. And I think it's, for me to see Scarlett Jo as vulnerable and just holding on to wanting something. And like throughout the film, I was caught between whose side I was on. And this is what what marriage does, isn't it? Like, you know, sometimes you're on someone's side. He was right, she was wrong. And I think what I loved about this is that there were, I was flitting between the two. So I wasn't on anyone's side, but I was just, I was constantly like, wait, I understand her argument, I get his argument, that wasn't fair, this wasn't, do you know what I mean? And there was this idea of, that marriage is never simple, and it's just seeing it sort of laid out there in this sort of amazing, with the soundtrack done by Randy Newman, and Randy Newman did Toy Story, so it's quite a sweet, has a quite sweet family feel. And I felt it throughout the whole story, and having a backdrop of that kind of music to the story that's being told is it felt very wholesome and very honest. And you know, when you watch Toy Story movies, you're like, you feel quite uplifted, and you feel quite, you know, you feel comforted by the fact that there's this music in the background, there's this relationship between sort of characters and people and stuff like this. And Toy Story 4, we'll get to that at some point. But yeah, I think that was very, I got super emotional, and I teared up, like I said, at the end. And like I said, I won't give away any spoilers or what actually happened and things like this, but by the end of it, I was like, literally, my heart was like this. I was like feeling for both characters as well. And again, you see the journey of each character, and even just like the kid and stuff like this. It's just, it was very, very emotional, and I would totally suggest that you watch it, because it is definitely one to see. And I've not seen Adam Driver in such an emotional role. I've seen him, you know, I've seen him portray different characters, like obviously he's Star Wars, he's Kylo Ren, he's in Girls, and I was shown Girls by someone and thinking, wow, it's just, he's brave, like walking around naked, and then, you know, this kind of thing where he's just very, it's just, he's a great actor, and can really just really jump into characters. And you know, and I think actually with films that I've seen with him, it's sometimes you see, I think I've never seen something so emotional. I've never seen him push that kind of character before, because I've not seen him in such a sort of domestic, I guess, in such a domestic capacity. You know, Black Klansman, he was the, you know, buddy cop. I suppose in Star Wars he's this really, you know, grim character, just very tortured in the sense that, you know, do you know what I mean? Like this kind of just the whole dark side stuff. And then trying to think of what else I've seen him in. And like I said, I haven't seen LauraDReviews, so maybe that's another film that perhaps touches on this kind of character, which I've not seen before. But yeah, and then Scarlett Jo, just as a mother, I'd not seen her as that kind of figure before, and to see her be really natural, and that's what I think was really poignant about this film, is that it felt very effortless, even though, you know, the scenes were dramatic and stuff. It felt very natural. Their chemistry was amazing. It must have been amazing for them to work together, because the performances were just so powerful, in the sense that it was just, it felt very natural. And I can't explain how, you know, what I felt when I was watching this. I think I was on the edge of my seat every time, and it felt very honest, in the sense that it wasn't a slow burner in terms of the start of the story, but I feel like it was this honest progression of how something would, so like a situation like that would actually pan out. So, you know, there's this back and forth of just like malicious, just hate or whatever, not hate, but just this, you know, when something starts off as, when a marriage sort of, you know, starts to fall apart, in a sense, then everybody's picking at it, and especially in a divorce situation, you're just constantly back and forthing, and there's a scene where it's no longer about them, but it's other people talking about their marriage, and you're just like, oh my god. And that's the kind of the fight, especially when it gets to a point, it gets to the courtroom, and you're like, oh my god. And you see it in their faces that sometimes that's not how it's supposed to be depicted, but it's necessary for, you know, that kind of, just to justify why someone should have custody of a kid, or it's very, very powerful. Totally suggest you watch it. A marriage story. Just prepare to be. And again, this is just my opinion. This is Laura D Reviews, and yeah,